Right, 10-4, I got 90-11 on one shot, consider it hot.
10-4, Mr. Weaver, consider it hot. I got a fuse on fire.
Consider it hot.
10-4.
All right, 10-4, 743, consider it hot.
10-12.
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
You guys do it. 10-4.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
Hi, Leigh. Welcome to July.
Hello, welcome to mid-July.
Mid-July. It is already July. Welcome, everybody, to the TVEC Consider It Hot podcast. We had some holidays in there, some vacation time in there. How's your summer going?
So far, so good. Honestly, my kid was a little grumpy yesterday, finding out that we've only got about a month left before school starts back.
Right.
I myself a little grumpy because that means it's school supply shopping time.
It is. Yeah, that needs to get done pretty quick. And all the pre-school activities. I have a new high schooler going into ninth grade. And so the summer activities to lead up to, in our case, marching band and all the sports and all that stuff, that's right around the corner.
Yes, sir.
All right. So welcome, everybody. Let's get this thing going. We're going to talk about our blinks, as we call them. A couple things going on this summer. It's a pretty, downtime for everything, but plenty going on around here. You're about to head out of town for Lineman Rodeo. What's that about?
Yep. So this will be my second time going to the Texas Lineman's Rodeo. It's set in Seguin, Texas. It's not just about competition, but we also bring pride. And last year we took home some hardware. We took home first, second, third, and fifth place in some of the single divisions. And then our two teams took home first and second in Hurtman Pole Rescue. So there's so much to go down there and get excited for, getting to see some of those family members. And we'll be sure to share a recap of that in August.
Right. And hopefully they'll do well. And that's down there in Hill Country territory, where they've seen a lot of tragedy over the last last week or so. I hear they may have some things in the works to try to be helpful in that regard as well. So that is great as well. We have some good folks going. Look on social media for updates on that, how they do and what they've got going on. Another thing to watch out for, summertime is youth tour, and this year starting the East Texas Rural Electric Youth Seminar. Those kids have gone on their adventure and come back successfully. It seemed like they had a great time. Oh,
yeah. And we've got some photos going out this weekend of our youth tour recap, those kids who got to go. And then our Eat Trees will be coming up in the week after.
Very cool. That East Texas event seemed like we had a couple of sponsors there as well, a couple of, what do you call them, chaperones, checking everything out over there in Marshall. And, really great speaker lineup and activities out there for those guys and girls. And so, look forward to seeing what all they got up to. Yep,
the umpire from the Bananas team.
The Savannah Bananas
was there. That is awesome.
Baseball as an entertainment item is a very interesting concept to me. That's pretty cool.
Speaking of high school students too, we'll also be sharing that we awarded $44,000 in total to
scholarships.
27 total schools in our service area. So we'll have those names, the schools they went to, and be on the lookout for that, because of course those S-sheet funds that we get back, we put them to good use.
Right. That goes to scholarships and other things, but good to see our high-achieving member kids go and take on the world and do great stuff. That's awesome. They'll be getting ready for college in just a couple of weeks, too. So,
true.
Very good. We've had a few neat safety items around here, too. Some safety recognition at the board meeting last month. Got to see a couple of employees receive some much earned gratitude. Journeyman Troy Tullis got a TVEC challenge coin, and if you know what a challenge coin is, just like a token, literally and figuratively, I guess, to say you've done something great. But he spotted some folks putting up a gas station sign that was way too close to the electrical lines, and he stopped what he was doing and got them to stop what they were doing, just to make sure we got that line covered up, make sure everybody worked safely, and for that, he earned a challenge coin, and he actually gets 2 challenge coins, which is pretty cool. so that he can be on the lookout to award someone else who's making a safety difference out there. Very cool.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they get 2. And then Travis Croft. You may know him. We'll talk about annual meeting in a minute. Travis is he's an auctioneer, but when he's giving away door prizes, it's like being at an auction, only without the stress. Mm-hmm. Our annual meeting entertainment auctioneer, Travis Croft, he earned his Certified Loss Control Professional, CLCP certification. That is a lot of work. I believe it was 30 hours of class work, but a lot of other work in projects and different things. And a lot of the coursework and project work he had to do was creating a safety program for here at the co-op. So that will immediately go to use in training. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool. And he'll be also down at Lyman Rodeo as one of our safety guys.
That's right. He'll be, in that case, doing safety for everybody at the rodeo.
True. Speaking of safety, summertime, we're still in it. It does bring some safety concerns because maybe we haven't seen any crazy storms over here, but we've also got kiddos in the pool, and it's important to be cautious with electrical panels and outlets, of course. If your breaker trips often, or if you're standing in water near the panel, don't take any chances. It's best to call a licensed electrician. And now is a good time to also make sure you have functioning AFCI outlets, which help prevent electrical fires.
Now, you said AFCI. Did you know there's a difference between an AFCI and a GFCI? Is it have to do with being outside? Sort of. Okay. Not really. GFCIs have to be by code on external outlets. Okay. That's where water comes into play. The water part comes into play. These are the ones in your bathroom with the little thing you punch. AFCI outlet is a newer or another option that is called an arc fault circuit interrupter. So if it actually detects not just a grounding issue, but an arc within the circuit, those kind of problems can cause fires. And so
learn something new every day.
Learn your breakers, learn your outlets, and look for those things. If you're having to replace a breaker, sometimes this is built into the breaker. Sometimes it's in the outlet itself, like a GFCI. So use the right stuff, and really just get a professional. That is definitely the way to go.
I believe so.
Says me. I actually just installed an outdoor outlet for a pond pump. And so you can do this yourself, but be careful out there.
You've got some good contacts, though, in case anything goes wrong.
I do know some people who know about electricity, and that helps. Very cool. Well, it is summertime, and joining us now on the podcast is Chris Walker, TVEC Energy Management Supervisor.
Sounds good, Don.
I like that. That's a good title. You supervise all the energy.
There you go.
It is good. You do have a section of the magazine here, and we're talking today about thermostats. I mean, why thermostats? We put a lot of information about controlling your AC. What's the big deal about thermostats?
Well, the main thing about thermostats, obviously, it's the big regulator of the temperature in your home, but it's also the flexibility of being able to control that anywhere now, right?
Right.
So whether you're setting a preset schedule within the thermostat while you're there, or whether you're just changing it on the fly just due to a change in life events, whether somebody's coming or somebody's going to be home that you weren't expecting to be home, just being able to adapt that to your use case is very beneficial for everybody.
Okay, I just had that. I went on vacation, forgot to change the thermostat. From the phone, I was able to say, this is a Train unit, so it was a Train app, and bump it up 4 degrees. Hope the dog didn't care, but it's all good. That is a pretty nifty function. How does that help on saving energy, though?
Well, it's really gives people the benefit of being able to save and not cool your house too much when you're not there, or heat your house too much when you're not there, but still have it comfortable where you're not affected. No one wants to go home to a warm house or to a super cold house. But if you don't need it to be a certain temperature while you're there, then why waste the energy?
Does that fall into the same thing of not adjusting your thermostat too far at one time? Where if you're cooling it down and you go, oh, I'm hot. It's hot in here. I'm going to go down 10 degrees instead of 4.
Yes. Yeah, that makes a big difference in your energy usage. That's why probably adjusting it less than 5 degrees is is the baseline there. Because if you start adjusting it too much, well, then if it has to make up a 10 to 15 degree difference or something like that, obviously it's going to have to run, in some cases, several hours to make up the difference.
Very good. All right. So invest in a thermostat. What is the price range we're looking at there?
Well, the prices come down on a lot of those, but it's kind of like most things today. You can spend as much as you want. You can get some for right around $50, and then you can get some for $250. So it kind of just depends on the range. A lot of these are really complex, and they can even give you like home energy reports. Basically, they'll tell you how many hours your unit was running during the course of the month. And this can be very useful to help you identify a problem, because sometimes you're not always aware when your unit is running. Right. But if I get a notification that says, hey, my unit was running for 2,000 hours this month and it normally only runs 500, could be a red flag.
That would be good to know. Good to know. Of course, that means you have to stop and look at the info. That's where I run into a problem.
Yes, and if you're like me, you lose the login, and so therefore you still don't have access to it.
Don't do that. It's the same thing with our energy alerts in Smart Hub. I have the same problem. I get the energy alert every day. I have a very low threshold for when it sends me an alert, and so every day I get an alert, and it's just like, oh yeah. But if I really went and looked at it, I would have more information to say, oh, okay, in Smart Hub, it looks like it warmed up outside, but maybe I'm using more energy than I had to, and the kids may have turned the thermostat down or turned the heater on somewhere that I didn't know about.
Yeah, and we always recommend that people, set it to something that's kind of a red alert for you. We're all overwhelmed with notifications. So just setting it to something that, hey, if I do get an alert from this device, I know it's something I need to pay attention to because I do have those high thresholds set.
All right, one more thing, because it's across the page, and I'm looking here at the July Texas Co-op Power. Everybody should read those. There is an article in here, not the one you placed in here, but the summertime scams. There's some stuff out there to be wary of. I know the first big one is we don't actually endorse or work with any particular solar companies, and you do all the solar stuff, but what should people be watching out for out there in the world?
Well, one of the main things, as everybody notices in some of the new legislation that's been passed, that the residential solar tax credit will be expiring on December 31st of this year.
Oh,
and so everyone needs to be aware that there will be some people maybe promising that that's going to be extended, or saying that they can help you with a workaround in those areas. And so far, all of the evidence is pointing to that expiring on December 31st, 2025, and there are no exceptions to that for residential anyway. And so anybody promising you anything else, I would be aware.
So that is potentially somebody trying to make a sale on paper and not actually do the work, or something that could leave you hanging. Yeah,
there's a lot of people that do a lot of different math. I know everybody's fond of girl math and boy math, all the different maths these days.
Solar math.
And solar math is one of those things that people try to do also. And so, we would definitely be leery of any of those.
We should probably do a whole social media post on solar math. Real solar math versus solar sales math. Oh my goodness.
Yes, that could be a good one.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we've got today, but be careful out there. And managing the thermostat. I forgot do you have the stat handy on what percentage of energy use is for air conditioning and heating?
That's roughly about 30 to 40%.
It's a lot. And so anything you do to use less for that and make yourself comfortable with fans or other ways is good.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Don.
Thanks, Chris. See you next month.
All right.
Some other things coming up this month. So you watch the calendar like a hawk. You see all these cool dates. What is Pet Fire Safety Day?
Pet Fire Safety Day just is about preventing, preparing, and planning to make sure that your home and those things in your home are safe for those pets, because they really depend on you. And They can't get out whenever there's a fire. of course, on their own. They're going to need you to do those things for them and help them. So just it's a way of planning, maybe having their medication ready, ways that you can stay on top of things, make sure they're not any exposed wires. It's really just highlighting that day of pet fire safety.
Yeah, on the electrical side too, the dogs chewing the cables, rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of pet issues can come up with electricity, so be careful out there. National Grilling Month. Of course, it's grilling month. Even if it's a little hot to be outside, there's nothing like cooking outdoors and eating outdoors. So, what does that have to do with us? You save some energy. If you're not cooking inside, you're not heating up the house. And so you're not increasing the load on your air conditioning. Of course, we want everybody to be careful. Don't get burned. Don't light up the whole house with your grill on the porch. Is kind of a dangerous situation. So be careful. It looks like you have a link at NFPA. That's the National Fire. What is that?
Protection Association.
National Fire. Oh, I'll cut that out. Watch social media for some great tips on that and links. And as always, common sense goes a long way. It's not this month, but coming up is the TVEC annual meeting. Are you excited?
I'm always excited for annual meeting.
It is the most fun event on the co-op calendar for sure. October 16th, be ready for that. Also, September, watch out for your September magazine, your Texas Co-op Power for voting. We're definitely going to want your vote. We need to get the quorum for our annual meeting through our ballots. And so there's some great incentives and drawings for cash money. Also, a lot of great drawings, like we were talking about, Travis, at the annual meeting. So we want everybody to start getting excited about that and put that on your calendar. October 16th, be there in Canton.
Yeah, you come, you get to listen to co-op news updates, and you also get an awesome insulated bag with tons of energy efficiency goodies inside that you'll use for years to come because they're so great. You get to see all of the staff that's there serving you. And in addition to all of the great things we just talked about, we're also going to have a special musical guest.
Right.
Last year, as you know, we had Elvis. This year, we're going to be having someone else. Are we allowed to put
I don't think we can talk about it.
A little bit of music hit in here, maybe?
Maybe.
Small clip.
Maybe. I mean, it's a future thing, so.
All I know is you don't want to miss it.
No. I just know we'll all be on the road again for Canton.
That is true. We will.
All right. If you haven't already paged through your July 2025 Texas Co-op Power, I hope you have not done anything untoward with that magazine. Lots of good stuff in there. Take a look through it. There's some great stuff from the Texas Electric Cooperative's people who make this magazine for us and sell all the advertising to make it cheap for us to send out. That's great. Enjoy that. Some great stuff from down in Brenham, an old theater that they redid, and a guy who grinds ancient grains to make bread. That's pretty cool. I'm just paging through it. You hear that?
I do.
It's a magazine right in front of me.
There you go.
Very cool. In the TVEC section, you'll find some great stuff, like a column from Jeff Lane, our CEO, about summer heat and reliability and what that does on the grid. It definitely has an impact. Our annual meeting reminder is there. Breaker box safety basics. That's fun. You get back to those AFCI outlets in there. Mm-hmm. And then, I see at the end of this, I went to Pizza Milan 2. Not 1. I went to number 2 for the lineman lunch.
I see that Andy Lopez suggested that to you, and he says that he likes the wings, but you had the pizza, correct?
I had the pizza. The pizza is a great deal. The salad was actually almost as big as the pizza. For the lunch special, it was really good and just a fun little off the beaten path pizza place. Not one of the chain things, and they make good food in there. Easy in and out there in the new Tom Thumb Shopping Center. They are a co-op member themselves, and so that's always fun. I enjoyed lunch there and definitely recommend checking that out. Apparently, there is a Pizza Milan number 1 on the north end of Forney. Pizza Milan number 2, though, is down on 548 on the south side of Forney. So check them out. Good stuff. Right next to that in the magazine, the Energy Quiz. Tell you what, one fun thing I get to do every month is, we randomly pick a winner from everybody who submits an answer in this energy quiz. And it's fun to send an email, say, hey, you won a $100 bill credit just for answering maybe not the hardest questions in the world. So jump in there. That's page 22. Or you can look online at the magazine, answer the energy quiz, send that to contest@tvec.coop, and you will be in the quiz. You know what's right across the page from that?
Is that Operation Roundup?
Operation Roundup. Now, we have new Operation Roundup grants. How did the members' money help the community this last month?
So this last month, we awarded $5,000 to Lone Star CASA, which I know we'll be talking to here shortly, and then $4,000 to Texas Youth Advocates. In total, that means for the first half of 2025, nearly $140,000 has been awarded to 39 local nonprofits.
Very cool. That's
pretty darn cool.
Amazing work, everybody. Thank you for chipping in there, everyone. Texas Youth Advocates, I remember talking to those folks a few years ago for a feature, and they are down in the south end of the district, and they do some youth sports activities, keeping the kids in good shape down there. And now, let's go listen in on our conversation with Lauren Rowe. She spoke to us a little bit earlier this week to talk about Lone Star CASA and what they do for kids in the justice system. Welcome, Lauren Rowe from Lone Star CASA. Thank you for joining us today on the TVEC podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You guys, along with CASA of Trinity Valley, between the two CASA organizations, serve all of our counties that we serve in. And you guys in particular, I guess, are Rockwall and Kaufman County. Give us just the bird's eye view. What all does CASA do? I think a lot of people are kind of familiar with the concept, but give us straight from you guys, what is your mission and what are you doing making a difference here in Kaufman and Rockwall counties for the folks here?
Yeah, specifically, the role that we play in our mission is really to elevate the children's voices throughout their civil court system. So we do that for children who have experienced abuse and neglect, live in either Kaufman or Rockwall County, and have somehow found themselves in the civil court process because of abuse and neglect. Right. And so we walk alongside the children and these families to get to know them, to advocate for them, to try to get them to reunify, right? That's always our hope. And we do that throughout the entire civil court system. And while they're in that case. And so we do this through providing trained volunteer advocates. We have over 100 volunteer advocates who have said yes to this, and they are termed guardian ad litem. And so when there is a case presented that unfortunately abuse and neglect has happened and the court needs to step in, that is when they appoint a CASA or a guardian ad litem at that moment.
So this is sort of a unique spot, right? It's not the lawyers and it's not the prosecutors or anybody directly in the legal side of it. Can you tell us how that originated and sort of how CASAs became a thing and how that sits in the process for the kids?
Yeah, 100%. So in the late 70s, and most people aren't aware, but children didn't have rights until the 70s. They were actually modeled after animal rights. And so this was something new that the court systems were seeing in the 70s, right? Trying to determine whether to bring children into the child welfare system, because up until that, there was really just orphanages, right? Where people no longer were able or could take care of their kids, but there wasn't necessarily a removal process. And so when that happened, there was a judge in Seattle, Washington, and he just felt that he couldn't make a decision. He knew that these decisions of whether to terminate a parental rights, whether to return a kid back, was just very monumental. You're really changing the lives and the trajectory for these folks. And so he felt like between the caseworkers and the attorneys for the parents and, of course, the attorney for the state, he just felt like the kid was lost. and what was actually in the best interest of the kid. And so he just asked for some community volunteers to do this. And that is when CASA was born. And so it started up in Seattle. It has spread across the nation. In Texas alone, we have 74 programs. And we started in 1992 in Rockwall County and expanded into Kaufman County in 2004. And really our role when we go into that court system is we are a very neutral party. One, we have not filed anything. We have not found these family guilty, right, of abuse and neglect. We come in after all of that is confirmed. And so we're really trying to get to know everything going on in the case. And so I often say our volunteers are like sponges. They basically do get to know the teachers. They get to know their therapists. They get to know their medical professionals, their current people they're living with, foster or family members, right? They get to know the biological family. You know, what happened? What was the situation? And then all the while, they're visiting with these children monthly, understanding them, learning who they are, learning what their needs are. And they're advocating for that throughout the entire case to attorneys, to caseworkers, all of that. And really what I say is we're a bit of a bridge. We kind of bridge the conversation between the court, between the caseworkers, and between the family to make sure that that child's voice doesn't get lost. And while we don't always represent 100% exactly what that child wants, because I often say we've all had children, and we know that if we let our 5-year-old eat candy 2 days straight, they will. Now, they'll get sick, but they will do it, and they will believe that's in their best interest. And so that's not really how our CASAs represent. Instead, we say, what is in the best interest? Is the best interest for them to go home because now they are safe to go back? The family is stable. Then we will advocate for that. If we feel like, hey, that kid has a medical condition that we feel like is not going seen, we will advocate to get them to a medical appointment. We advocate often to get children moved closer to Kaufman or Rockwall County so they can see their siblings, they can see their families, you know, things like that. And so on average, our cases last 22 months in our counties. And so this volunteer is with them for that entire case. So whether the case is 18 months or we have one right now that's 7 years, an advocate is the consistency. And if you think about it, a child in foster care moves on average in those 22 months 3 times. And so they're living in 3 new homes. They've probably had multiple caseworkers, right? And we are that constant adult and that constant presence in their life to make sure that their needs never go unmet.
Wow.
Switching schools too, right? So they're
100%. You know, we often give an example of, you know, a 5-year-old who's removed from her home at 2 a.m., right, because of an unfortunate, maybe a domestic violence situation. So she's removed from her home. She's lost her parents. She's lost her sibling because she's placed in a different spot outside of that. She's lost her dog, right, her cat. She's lost that. She's lost her kindergarten teacher, her friend across the street, and she's placed in a completely different spot. And so, yes, while sometimes they're able to be placed with family, you know, family members, grandparents, whatnot, that doesn't mean they live in the same area. And those children are grieving that loss. And so that's part of it is every time they move, it's another connection that's kind of broken. And so that's why we want to make sure that we remain the constant, that we don't break that connection with them. That
is a sobering reality check on that whole process as well. I see just from the website, there's a lot of, you know, things going on that you guys can use help with. And of course, the 2 main things are everything runs on money and volunteers. So in the volunteer side of things, give us a window into what that training looks like first off, and then sort of what that commitment looks like for people who might be considering jumping into to help these kids.
Yeah. So our volunteers are honestly our lifeline, right? They are the ones that do the hard work. They are the ones that are representing the kiddos. We have staff who support those volunteers, who walk through it all with them, who can step in for them in case, they're on vacation or need to do something different, right? We're able to step in. But these volunteers, really, we're looking for somebody above the age of 21 because you do have to go through a background check. Not to say you could never have, a petty theft charge, right? But we're looking for somebody who obviously is safe to be around kids. And then has just a passion for really helping kids and families get to a better spot, right? Understanding that there's a lot of trauma happening with these families we serve, right? Nobody ends up in the CPS system unless there's trauma going on. And it is traumatic for the kid to be moved out of the home, and it's traumatic for the parents to have their children moved out of the home. And so it's hard all the way around. So we're looking for volunteers who really want to help with that. And they go through 30 hours of pre-service training. And so that does sound like a lot for most people, but these trainings are done. We do about 5 a year. And so sometimes we do them at night. Sometimes we do them on Saturdays. We try to be flexible with people. And half of those 30 hours is, online. So it's not in person, right? It's just doing the coursework online. We also have these volunteers go into Kaufman Court and observe. So they see how our advocates are representing these kids. They see how the whole system kind of works in that courtroom, and they observe that. And they learn from, they hear from judges, they hear from our caseworkers, they hear about all of these things and get a lot of good training about the civil court process, about trauma, just tons of knowledge. And then they are technically sworn in by a judge. We actually had one this morning, and we had 9 volunteers who were sworn in this morning that had completed the 30 hours of training.
That's awesome.
And so once the judge they take an oath that they agree to basically represent the kid, to always put their best interests first, all of that. And once they do that, they are case assignable. And so kind of what that looks like then is we check in. When we get a case, we feel like it might be a good fit for them. They get to read the case, and they get to decide whether it's something they can take on or not, right? Because everybody has a different level and preferences, and so we want to make sure it's a good connection. And we say it takes about 10 to 15 hours a month to work this case. Okay. And that's really, it shouldn't take more than that. Although court is the thing that's kind of unmovable, the rest of it is very flexible, right? When you go and see the kid, you're coordinating with where they're living, right? So oftentimes it's at night or the weekend because somebody's working, right? Or they have family things that they need to attend. And then other people are like, oh no, let me do it just, in the middle of the day, I'm going to run up to the school, right? And see this kid. And so we're always looking for volunteers to do that just because, unfortunately, the need is growing. As we all know, Kaufman County is growing super quickly, right? Still fastest growing county in Texas.
I believe you're right.
And so, unfortunately, that means our cases are growing. And so we're always looking to get more advocates in to ensure that we have enough, because we never want to say no. We never want to not serve on a case. We feel like all these kids need us and need representation. The judges value our opinions, and so we want to continue to recruit those volunteers. And so that's what we are always looking for. And I just invite people. We host 2 informational sessions a month, and they're on our website at lonestarcasa.org. And they will be a session with our trainer, and it's basically a 30-minute Zoom session just to learn more about the role and see if that's something right for you, and to allow that person, you can ask your questions, state if you had concerns, and so they can do that. So then you can really decide, yeah, I think that's something I can pursue, or no. But we go through interview process and all of that before a volunteer has to start the training, right? Because we really want to make sure it's a good fit.
Sure.
And then last, I'll say our volunteers do continue to get 12 hours of continuing education every year to continue to be an advocate. So not only are they working in our cases, but they do get continuing education. A lot of this is done. We offer something monthly, but there's a ton online, right? Some of our advocates even just read books or listen to a podcast, right? Because there's so much good information out there. And so, so they continue to do that. But 10 to 15 hours is what we say once you are an advocate that it takes to work a case.
Okay.
So if you're an advocate in one county, does that cross over to other counties, or is it strictly for that one that you're sworn in to?
Well, it does cross over. So in our case, we can serve, every volunteer can serve in Rockwall or Kaufman County.
Okay.
But I think one thing that is not typically thought of or known is that the kids are removed from Rockwall and Kaufman County, meaning that is their family's residence is in one of these two counties. It doesn't mean that that is where they're always placed.
Got it.
And so actually 86% of our kids from Rockwall and Kaufman County are not in their original county. Wow. Living in placement. And some of that can be, obviously family doesn't, we know families move away and move around. And so when they're placed with family, they could be obviously definitely outside the county. But the other thing is in the foster care system, there is a lot of placements outside the area. And so we don't want financially to be a burden on why people can't volunteer. And so we do reimburse mileage for our volunteers if that's something that they can't do. And we can reimburse that because we know that some of our kids, are placed, for example, in Houston and different places. And that's also where our staff comes in to help. So I'll give you an example. We have two kiddos that are in Tacoma, Washington, and they are placed with a relative, but they are from our county. And so I happen to be up there in Seattle for vacation. And so I went and saw those kids, right?
That's awesome.
So our volunteer didn't do that and, all that. And so it was great. They still got to talk to their volunteer while I was there. But I was able to see them, see the home environment, kind of walk the volunteer through. I even got to do a little FaceTime, so we get to do those things. But the children are in the best possible place because they're with an aunt who really wants them there. Okay. And that is the best possible placement for them. So, yeah. That's a great question about whether it crosses over, though.
Well, crossing over to the other side of how to support CASA, you guys just received a grant, and I looked in our Operation Roundup TVEC Charitable Foundation stats. You guys have had grants almost every year since the inception of the program in 2013. Mm-hmm. So we're pretty proud of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that those funds come from our members just rounding up their bills. The opportunity is there also, I guess, for voluntary donations to help you guys out, as well as, like I said, CASA of Trinity Valley serves some of our counties as well. So just want to give them a little shout out too. The grants go into obviously help pay some of these expenses. What does the money go for at CASA?
Yeah, so we spend at least 86% of our funds on programmatic needs. And so the grant that comes in through TVEC and any other private grant that we might get, right, goes to the programmatic cost. And so people often say, okay, well, what are the programmatic costs if you have volunteers, right? That's a continual question we get, and it's a really good question. And honestly, it's my program team who support. So it's our people who are out there recruiting volunteers. Mm-hmm. It's our people who are training those volunteers. And then it's the people, once our volunteers are case assignable, that they report to. Kids in foster care, like I said, do come in with a lot of trauma. And while 30 hours is a good deal of training, right, you could have never worked in this environment, right? You could have never stepped foot, let's hope, never stepped foot inside a court system or really dealt with drug addiction and different things like that. And that's why our staff are here, because they are trained professionals. They have done this. And so they are here to support that volunteer, to make sure the volunteer has all the support and resources they need to take care of the kids that we serve and the families. And so really the cost goes to those staff, but it also goes to bringing speakers in for training. It goes to mileage, like I talked about, so mileage for my staff. It goes to mileage for volunteers. We pay for background checks, right, for each of these volunteers. And then, of course, we have a case management system that all our volunteers document all their notes and different things like that. And so those are the kinds of funds that TVEC and personal donations and kind of what they go towards. You know, we are constantly fundraising. So we do get some victims of crime funding from the state and federal government, but it only covers about 40% of our total budget. And so really we have to make that up by going around and asking for funding. And one of the ways, if I can say, one of the huge ways that people are funding that's not covered by government grants is our kids who abuse and neglect has happened, and they are it's happened, but the court has decided that they can remain safely in their home with a safety plan. Well, we in Kaufman County was the first. I'm very proud of this because we started working with these families. They're called court-ordered services. And what happens is they are working with CPS on family-based safety services because they say, okay, look, abuse happened, but we think we can keep these kids here, which is awesome. Let's put up a safety plan. But you do need to complete these services within 6 months. Well, when they're court ordered to do that, we have started being appointed on those cases. And what a difference it has made because those families really feel like we're there for them. And that's something that we have to use 100% of unrestricted funds to serve this family. And if you think about it, not only are we reducing the trauma because the kid's not coming to foster care, and we're able to keep these families together. And if you just look at it economically, and I know not everybody wants to, but if you look at it economically, we've saved a ton of money from bringing a kid into the foster care system for all the legal fees, for everything. And so to us, that was critical. And so we started serving on that about 3 years ago, and we have just seen such great success with that. And we will be launching a new program, which is something I think we actually mentioned in the TVEC grant application, is that we also are going to start in Kaufman County working in justice-involved youth.
Justice-involved
youth. And so
youth.
we are going to start justice-involved youth. And so, you know, laws have changed in terms of removals. And so we have, unfortunately, that means families are still dealing with the same trauma, but they don't have the access to the services, right? Because they haven't been involved in the system. And so when we look at the juvenile side, we see a lot of our families who maybe 10 years ago, we would have served them, right? The teenagers would have been removed and we would be serving them. But today, that's just different because a lot of legislation moves and different things. And honestly, the foster care system doesn't have a lot of placements for teens. And so we are going to start advocating for youth who have been found guilty and are involved in the justice system, but are on probation, and advocate to help them complete probation successfully, to not get another charge, and to hopefully get connected with some resources and supports for them, their family. And really our goal is to help them feel like that they have control over their future and that they can make a better decision tomorrow than they did yesterday, right? That they see that hope ahead. And so we're really excited to launch that September 1st. And this is something that is a completely new program. And so we are definitely fundraising for it and trying to get that funding so we can ensure to serve those kids.
Yeah, that sounds great. I had not heard of that. Justice Involved Youth. So that is, man, we could spend another half hour talking about that. That sounds great. That early intervention into such a critical time of a young person's life. That's great. Okay.
Yeah, we're excited. We're one of 4 doing it. So a CASA program. So it is not all over the state yet. California has done it, and we are taking a lead from them and trying to learn what we can. So.
You got to be careful talking about California over here.
Yes, definitely.
But that's great, though. And I see, other than just regular fundraising efforts, there is one big opportunity coming up I saw on your calendar in August. Tell us about Clays for CASA.
Yes, August 15th, we have Clays for CASA at the Texas Gun Ranch in Terrell off 205. We have been doing this for 10 years. So this will be our 10th year. We're very excited about it. There are opportunities for sponsorships. There are opportunities to bring a team. And if that's not your cup of tea, we also have the opportunity for people to donate silent auction items and get their business name out there. I always say, like, that's a great way. Put your business card with the silent auction item, and you can get that out there. And then, honestly, we're also looking for a lot of volunteers. It takes a lot to put on a clay shoot, and so if somebody wants to just dip their toe into CASA and come learn about us on August 15th, we would love to have them come volunteer. It's in the heat. We know this. We know it's August in Texas. Yeah. But it is before dove season starts. And so we want these guys and gals to brush up on their shooting skills before they start hunting. And it is guaranteed to be a good time. We have lunch donated. We have a gun for a raffle. We'll have the silent auction. And then after the shoot, which starts early in the morning, we will have some lunch and beer provided after the shooting. We don't have beer before the shooting.
That
obviously.
is a good disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And so it's just a good time. So like I said, if somebody would like to attend, you can find more information on our website or social media on Facebook. But as well, if you want to volunteer, you can always email us. We'd love to have you.
Okay. And that just raises the other question then. Aside from being an actual CASA advocate, what are there other opportunities for volunteers who may not have the commitment availability that the advocates would?
Or maybe not even monetary value. Like, is there something in donation needs?
Yes. So there are a few things. So I'll touch on the volunteers first. So we do have 3 events a year, and we always use volunteers for that. But as well, sometimes we have special projects, right? So we need like our toy room, organized or whatnot. And so we need we use high school kids, for example, to write, thank you notes and happy birthday cards to our volunteers.
Oh, great.
So there's a lot of different ways that people can volunteer with us if they can't be an advocate at that time. We also do recruitment events throughout, and we're trying to expand that and do more of those. And so we're looking for people who are willing to go to, sit at a booth at an event and do that and tell people about who CASA is and why they should serve with us. And then as far as donations, we do have donation drives that we do for the children and the families we serve. And so sometimes people can say, oh, well, I want to collect shampoo and conditioner, or I want to collect, winter gear. And so maybe they can't write a check for $1,000, but maybe they can ask their Sunday school group if they'd be willing to collect school supplies, right?
Sure.
And so I think those are a lot of different ways that people can get involved because we know that not everybody can financially always donate or not always in the right position. But I think there's always ways to donate. And just so you guys also know, we do have a separate fund that we keep that is just for the kids and the families we serve. And so people sometimes donate to that. And so that may go to getting a laptop for a kid that's graduating, right? Or it could go to getting a kid who's going off to college but doesn't have a car, like an Uber gift card, so they can get to and from their job too.
Wow.
So we've bought a bed for aunt who the kid could go to the placement. It was safe, but she didn't have the money to buy a bed. And so we bought the bed so the kid could go there and live with family. Yes. And so we have a fund specifically for that too. So sometimes people are like, hey, I have access to mattresses, for example. And we're like, okay, well, we know to contact you. So I think there's a lot of different ways to get involved with us.
That is awesome. We've gone over the promised 20 minutes that I know you have some places to go off to, but
I'm so sorry.
No, we could. This is the good stuff.
I could talk about CASA all day.
Yes. I'll bet, and it's an amazing thing y'all are doing. I really appreciate the work that goes into it, and I know that as I'm sure most of us don't get a vision into that side of what's going on, the needs that are there, and the reality of sort of the situation some people are in. And so I really appreciate what the volunteers and all y'all there do to support those kids.
Well, thank you for your support financially, but also for your support of just sharing our information and letting people know what we do. We appreciate it because word of mouth is honestly how we get most of our supporters and volunteers. So thank you all.
Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast. And then we'll put it in our Texas Co-op Power magazine as well and do what we can to help get the word out.
Awesome. Well, y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, Leigh, I am always impressed at what our fellow area folks who do such great work, great charitable work for those who need the most help. We get to meet them through these Operation Roundup grants. Always humbled.
Oh, yes. And I had heard from her when I was doing the Kaufman leadership class. I'm so glad that we got to take an extra deep dive into that to let our members know too what they do and how they can get involved.
Yeah, and the fact that they're still growing that with the youth program and the things that they're expanding into, it's really, really great. All right, I think that about wraps up July for us. We'll get in August a little earlier, I think. Hope everybody is having a great summer. Continue to do so. Be careful out there, and we will talk to you next time on the podcast.
See ya.